Peace to y'all family, how y'all doing? It's Brother Lawrence 228. We back with some more info for you, and today we got the Choctaws on the Pearl River. Yup. I did a video a while back breaking down how the lands of Mississippi and Alabama were ceded to the government. They had to give up their land and basically forced to Oklahoma. Okay. I just want to kind of expound on it, and because the regions that they were pretty much boxed into on that graphic that was shown, the Choctaw tribe actually extends out to the Gulf Coast, right? So I am working on this project called the Pearl River. I am working on this project called the Pearl River Project in collaboration with the homie Eric Newsom out of Columbia, Mississippi. Our goal is to highlight different areas, structures, earthworks, like mounds that lies along that Pearl River. Just like in schools, you will learn about the Mississippi River because most of the river fed a lot of families, a lot of tribes, different tribes for many of years. So this would be a cool little segment to get you to check out the Pearl River project that we got going on. The link will be in the description. I have the behind the scenes of the first episode, and I'll be dropping the first episode pretty soon, probably in the next 2 weeks or so, as we wait on production to get that together. But we got the Choctaws on the Pearl River on up through Jackson around Philadelphia, okay, and around Philadelphia, right up in this area at the end of the Pearl River is where the Choctaw, the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians headquarters are at, which is different from the Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma. Okay, well, that's for another episode. But those who did stay back from the forced removal on the Trail of Tears stood back and have their own reservation in Philadelphia, Mississippi. So now to the Choctaws on the Pearl River, of course, they will have access to this river, right? So let's get a deeper view on. So we got the Mississippi River and the Pearl River pretty much starting at the same spot, which would pretty much be the Gulf Coast. The Gulf of Mexico, right? And more of your iconic names is made off the Mississippi River, right? Like New Orleans, okay, Baton Rouge, right? All these little towns probably will have a high rate of history of the indigenous people close by these rivers. Okay, you got Natchez. This is all on the Pearl River. This is all on the Mississippi River. Vicksburg. Let's go on up. Rosedale. All these. Helena. Memphis. You get up to there by Memphis. Tunica. Right. Clarksdale. The Delta. Batesville. It's not far from it. Cleveland. Okay, Hollandale. Then you got Memphis. Let me zoom on out, man. This is supposed to be Mississippi River. Then go on to the Ohio River. Right? We keep going up. What's city over here? This is Cairo. Ain't that in Africa somewhere? So Cairo probably Mound City, mounds. Okay, so anything dealing with the mounds, you gonna best believe that's with the indigenous people before Columbus, right? So we got the Mississippi River, right? And it'll go up to St. Louis and Davenport, Minneapolis. So that was Mississippi, but we're going to place emphasis with the Pearl River Project in no particular order, right? We're going to start in Slidell, right? We're going to come up probably through Picayune, Bogalusa, Sandy Hook, Columbia. Columbia is where we filmed the first episode featuring the Red Bluffs, which is known as the Baby Grand Canyon. Okay, the link will be in the description, and I also got some behind the scenes of that. I don't have the first episode, I just have the behind the scenes of the first episode on there. That link will be in the description, and it's with the brother Eric Newsom, called the Pearl River Project. Stay tuned for those videos that come. All right, so you got Columbia, Monticello, right? Little Georgetown, Byram, you got Jackson. Pearl River's coming right through that thing, right? We got the reservoir, Carthage, all these little country towns, you know. You got Louisville. Oh, what? We probably, I think I made have went too far up. Pearl River, right? Pearl River, all the way up to Pearl River County, right? Up here, got Philadelphia. This is where the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians reside at. Its headquarters in Philadelphia, Choctaw, right? There's some history there. Okay, so we gonna highlight in that project those cities, along with a lot of ancient history that comes about that probably wasn't taught in our Mississippi Studies classes or most known Mississippi literature. Okay, but yeah, Choctaws on the Pearl River. Okay, it only makes sense, and I got a few sources that I'm gonna throw out there to kind of help. They claim that Choctaws reached all the way down to the Gulf Coast. All right, from Slidell to Biloxi, Pascagoula, one time the Pigula in the house, Miles Point, you know, Mobile, Alabama. It's right there on the water. So let's start with this article. The page is 56. This is coming from Mississippi River Cultural Resources Survey, A, comprehensive study phase number 1. Okay, let me zoom in on this thing. Okay, go down. All right, Mississippi River Cultural Resources Survey, a comprehensive study, phase 1, component A, thematic historical overview. Okay, 84. Let's scroll down. I really want to go straight to what I want to show, but just to give credit where it is due, where I got this source of information. You see it on the screen. This is a type of report, final report from 1982 to 1984. And the authors of this report will be Jerome Green, A. Burley Clemson, John C. Page, David Stewart, and Lawrence F. Van Horn. Okay. Performing organization name Southwest Team, Denver Service Center, National Park Service, Denver, Colorado. Controlling, this is going to the Department of Army Corps of Engineers, New Orleans District. Okay, and that's in New Orleans, Louisiana. All right. In this abstract, keywords about this article, if you want, like, the link will be in the description, like I do in all of my videos, just in case you want to further your research on the subject. The keywords on this is Lower Mississippi Valley, southeastern Louisiana history, anthropological overview, prehistoric Indian, colonial Louisiana military history, Louisiana agriculture, river transportation, trade, immigration, which is key, right? And to try to figure out where your family places in this story we call history, right? The abstract of this article reads, the study is an anthropological overview summarizing historic records and archaeological literature for the use of historic preservations and cultural resource managers in southeastern Louisiana. Settlement data relevant to the human use of and adaptation to the Mississippi River, mile 300, south to head and head of passes are presented under broad themes discussing prehistoric Indian life, European colonial settlement, military history, agricultural production, trade and industry, transportation. All right. Also, efforts to control the river channel, 19th century immigration, cultural enclaves, and cultural blending, which all happens. You can't talk history without, colonial times, where we've basically been colonized and have to assimilate into their ways and customs of the European. All right, this volume contains an extensive annotated bibliography. Now, I love the bibliographies. Those are where I recommend to start research, besides the genealogy, and then if it's a specific subject that you wanted to tackle, you would start by credible authors who provides bibliographies for you to start, because they already did the homework for you and they use it in they list their sources in the bibliography, so you can go to the primary source to get your work. All right, moving forward, I do just want to go straight to page 56. The link will be in the description. Okay. So chapter 2, Indian tribes and cultures of the lower Mississippi River. Okay. We are talking about the Choctaws on the Pearl River. The name of this episode, and here's the introduction. The region of the lower Mississippi River hosted numerous Aboriginal groups preceding and following the early years of European contact. These groups historically represented a segment of the southeastern culture area and enjoyed excellent conditions for practicing riverine agriculture, a characteristic vocation of southeastern Indians throughout their habitat. Of particular interest are the Natchez, Tunicas, Tenzas, Homas, Bayagulas, Mugalashas, and the Chitamacas. All these groups at one time or another figured in the historical development of the lower river region. Well, I can't talk today. Historical development of the lower river region. While some were linguistically alien to one another, all share various material and non-material cultural elements. For example, all had a chiefdom level of political organization with varying degrees of hierarchical versus egalitarian statuses. Follow deal with subsistence modes, housing types, and social organization and belief system of the southeastern Indians. The southeastern Indians possessed a remarkably detailed knowledge of their environment. They hunted, farmed, gathered, and fished, although none of these subsistence modes were relied upon exclusively. Agriculture was employed alongside gathering, fishing, and hunting. Riverine agriculture, as practiced by the southeastern Indians, was intensive in that a relatively large amount of food was produced on rather small amounts of land. The fertile, loamy, alluvial soils that occurred in varying widths along rivers throughout the southeast. The term riverine agriculture is especially appropriate for the lower Mississippi area, which its rich natural levees, extensive sweating or slash and burn, forest fallow, or shifting cultivation does not seem to have been a southeastern method. That is, fields that were not alternately planted and then followed for such longer period than the time the field was cropped. Some following apparently took place, but the situation was such that the land recovered quickly when followed, despite the rapid soil exhaustion properties of corn because of regular flooding and alluvial deposition. Okay. The main agricultural strategies were multiple cropping and intercropping. The first is planting of the successful crops on the same field in one season, such as early and late corn. Intercropping is the planting of several kinds of vegetables mixed together in the same field. In the later instance, the southeastern Indians were well known for planting beans and corns together so that the beans grew up intertwined with the corn stalks. In between the hills of beans and corn and around the edges of the fields, squash, pumpkins, and sunflowers were planted. Intercropping was especially effective as an adaptive strategy because it could serve space in utilizing the relatively scarce soil suitable for riverine agriculture. And in the case of beans and corn growing together, it helped preserve the richness of the soil as the root nodules of the beans actually return to nitrogen to the oil. Return nitrogen to the soil. So let's talk about some of the housing types, okay, that may have been built here on the Pearl River, Mississippi, Louisiana. All right, travel variation existed in house types within the typical southeastern Indian settlement pattern of a cluster of public buildings and houses around a central plaza or temple mound. The Chickasaws and the Choctaws had a pattern of multiple houses, presumably extending back to Mississippian times, in which each family possessed a winter and summer house and perhaps a third and even a fourth building for storage. Winter homes are heavily insulated with circular floor plan, sometimes dug 2 or 3 feet in the earth with a cylindrical wall and a conical. There's some more sources right there for you. Conical roof. The walls and roofs were plastered with 6 or 7 inches of clay mixed with dried grass or Spanish moss. Before the mud and moss plaster dried on the roof, it was covered with pine bark shingles laid in circular courses starting at the bottom and ending at the top. A curved passageway or L-shaped door was provided the opening to keep out cold winds. Early European observers are known to have referred to this winter houses as houses and Dutch stoves because they were so snug. Creek rented houses were similar in construction but on a rectangular floor plan. The summer houses on the Chickasaws, Choctaws, and the Creeks had rectangular floor plans, clapboard sides of salt pine or cypress, and gable roofs for cypress of pine bark. A whitewash of powdered oyster shells or white clay was used on the wall inside and out. Sometimes the gable ends were left open Sometimes the gable ends were left open for airflow. At other times, only a small opening was provided, a tiny doorway to help keep out insects. The natchez use only a single house all year, one with a square floor plan, mud and moss walls, and a domed or hemispherical roof of thatch. A distinctive open cypress framed house with a raised platform for working and sleeping, and a glow roof thatch with palmetto leaves was that of the Seminoles and the Miccosukees in Florida. Along the lower Mississippi, the Bayougulas, the Homers, and the Mugalashas are identified as Muskogee-speaking tribes related to the Choctaws. The village on the west bank, shared by the Bayougulas and Mugalashas in 1700, apparently possessed 2 temples and 107 cabins. 107 cabins. And the Homers at the same time had 140 cabins on the east bank. Such structures on these area groups were likely similar in appearance to the Choctaw houses described above. It is assumed that, like other southeastern type houses, those along the lower Mississippi were 2-pitched and gabled, rectangular, with four vertical walls of poles plastered over the mud to form mud water, or of a pole frame covered with thatch. The fire was built in the middle of the earthen floor, and bed platforms were placed around the walls. Such dwellings were normally occupied by the single family, but those of a number of related families were built close together in extended family clusters. The eaves were a little higher than a man's head. The length 15 or 20 feet, and the width somewhat less. Okay, so also a little something about the type of housing for Choctaw, maybe some Chickasaw, Seminole nations. Okay, let me see if I can pull up. So right here, and again, all the sources and links will be in the description, so y'all can check this out for yourself. Zoom in this thing. Zoom. All right, Mississippi area history before Stone County, Mississippi. I'm in Long Beach, and this is Harrison County. The next county over is Stone County. Okay, this is the Mississippi area history before Stone County, Mississippi was formed in 1916. Mississippi was much different place in 1820 when the first settlers began coming to the area that is now present-day Stone County, Mississippi. This is a picture of some of the Indians that were here upon arrival of the European. Okay. As you can see, these don't look like the people that may be there now. But let's say Indians still lived in present-day Stone County when the first settlers began settling in the area that is now Stone County, Mississippi. These Homer Indians are at Reverend William Cooper's Church in George County, Mississippi. In George County, where on my dad's side is from. Got a lot of family over there. But that Indian village was the only village, George County, Mississippi. And there were several Homer Indian villages in the present-day Stone County, Mississippi. It was estimated that there were around 30,000 buffaloes in Mississippi when the state was formed on December 10, 1817, and these Indians appeared to be wearing clothing that was made of buffalo hairs. which has a common material for summer clothes for all the Indian tribes in Mississippi. So you can see the hides on them. You know, winter clothes were usually made from deer skin or wolf skin, and the buffalo hides were used to roll up into for their beds in cold weather. Okay, so I mean, this is how the housing looked. Okay, over here, Florida as organized under British rule. Like all this was under their rule, Florida. As you mean, what is now Louisiana right here, Mississippi right here. This the Pearl River. This the Mississippi River. You know, this is Alabama and that little part of Florida. Right? So a lot has changed. This would be old West Florida area to south, originally part of the French Louisiana. Came from West Florida under England and Spain after the West Florida Revolution, annexed by U.S. in 1812, was added to Mississippi Territory. A lot of history. Got the coins. State of Mississippi was formed from property that was formerly owned by the Spanish and had become the Mississippi Territory in 1798 until 1842. All of the money in the area was Spanish gold coins within the state of Mississippi until 1842. And picture Picayune, downtown Picayune, probably one time for Picayune. Yeah, Picayune. Now, I can't make out who that is. They look a little dark right there. Got them dark Indians over there. What would you say? The Homer Indians planted plenty of the native pecan trees in the area. Open areas near the villages besides Red Creek and President Stone County, Mississippi. Pecan is a form of Algonquian Indian word meaning a nut requiring a stone to crack. Right? So, yeah, you know, I brought that up for show you the kind of housing that we were in by the time that's in this particular area and during this particular time. Okay, so let's go on to this next page and see. This is from WLOX talking about the Native Americans celebrate tribal recognition with cucumbers. I don't care for that cucumber part, but hey, Jackson County, stand up. That's where Pascagoula, where I was raised. You know, Carver Village, stand up. Some Native Americans said after enduring many years of hardship and discrimination, it feels good knowing Mississippi is now acknowledging their heritage. On Thursday, a Jackson County Chancery judge officially made the Van Cleve Live Oak Choctaws a state and locally recognized tribe. Okay, and that's in Van Cleve. It's right outside Pascagoula. Okay, Pascagoula. Pascagoula. Okay, you can check out my head banner, my profile banner. It's got the city entry. I forgot what you call it. A little, you know, when you first the entry sign, walking the Pascagoula sign. Tribal members said that this is a huge victory and a great help for the federal recognition they are working toward. They are so thankful. They presented Judge D. Neil Harris, who made the ruling, with a gift of cucumbers, which they said is a Native American celebration tradition. The judge said he couldn't accept the gift and suggested they be passed out among those in the courtroom. Because of the past treatment The ruling was especially touching for some tribe members old enough to remember the days before integration. Patty Bain Williams went to grade school in Van Cleve during a time when the United States was still a segregated country. She said she and other Native American children had few opportunities for education and work. In Van Cleve, we had 3 schools. We had one for whites, one for blacks, and one for the Creole Indians, said Bain Williams. The blacks had 12th grade, the whites had 12th grade, we only had 8th grade. The new former Live Oak Choctaw tribe said they worked for years to become a Mississippi recognized tribe. There were 2 groups of descendants who mended their differences to become one tribe. They also drew up bylaws. Okay, I hope there's a win. Same distinction from the federal government. Do have local government saying that we are Indian, so that's going to have a lot more pull than if we just went up on our own by ourselves. The BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, that process might be harder to prove. All right, so they got, yeah, you want to check that out. This is going to be in the description. And the whole objective is to show y'all, the Choctaws all over this place, South Mississippi, and we're going to try to keep it as close to the Pearl River as possible, but, we running deep all through this thing, okay? So, from the New Orleans Bar Association, okay, we got the New Orleans Nostalgia, Remembering New Orleans History, Culture, and Traditions by Ned Hemrod. I don't know. The Choctaw are Native American people that originally inhabited parts of the southeastern United States, such as Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, since the pre-Columbian era, and their language belongs to the Muskogee linguistic group. Choctaw ancestors built the great earthwork mound about 1,700 years ago, considered sacred by the people. The Choctaw are considered one of the 5 civilized tribes because of their inclination to adopt European customs into their culture. Historian Henry Halbert believes that their name is derived from the Choctaw phrase Chahta, meaning river people. Okay, I just seen that they were trying to break down some of these words, so I figured I'll throw it out there too. Link will be in the description. But moving forward, French ethnographer and explorer Antoine Simon Lepas Duplex in the Histoire de Louisiana, Paris 1758, recollected that when he inquired from whence the Choctaws, the spelling of Choctaws, came to express the suddenness of their appearance, they replied that they have come out from under the earth. Although not a literal creation account, this is possibly the first instance of European recounting part of the Choctaw origin story. Today, Choctaw words and names abound in and around the parishes bordering the greater New Orleans area. Okay, you got Choctaw words that spoke amongst the people in the greater New Orleans area. Okay, so boom. So New Orleans area. So even though we talking about the Pearl River, New Orleans is right across from Slidell, right? And I-10 right out, you had the Pontchartrain, Lake Pontchartrain. You got this long joker right here. That joker long. And it crazy enough, you can see the other side from the other thing, about 10, 12 miles. I don't know how to do the distance thing, but It's a cool bridge. Most definitely kill a lot of time just riding. Make sure you don't half a tank. Okay. So yeah, that was New Orleans, man. So they right there by the same area. Okay. Choctaw words and names abound in and around the parishes bordering the greater New Orleans area. The name Tchefuncte, pronounced Chfuncta, is derived from the Choctaw word Hakafaki, which denotes a kind of shrub oak tree that produces a small edible nut called chincopen, which is much akin to a chestnut. During the early days, these trees lined the banks of the Chaffonte River, which forms part of the border between St. Tammany and Tangipahoa, Tammany and Tangipahoa parishes. St. Tammany was named Tammany circa 1628, circa 1698. Chief of the Lenape Indian Nation in the Delaware Valley at the time of Philadelphia was established. And Tangipahoa comes from a Kalapisa Indian word meaning ear of corn cob, or those who gather corn. The name Kalapisa means those who listen and see in the Choctaw language. Okay. Yeah, let's just breaking out a few of those words. Bogalusa, Chaffonte, Bofalaya, derived from the Choctaw words Bogle, stream, creek, and Falaya, long. One can easily see these words on the Falaya River. Falaya River, basin, and swamp comes from the Choctaw word combination, also meaning long river, for Pacha, river, Falaya, long. Remember, Choctaw is said to come from Hacha Hatak, meaning river people. Okay, so, yeah. So this is Hancock County, which is right above Stone County. I think Choctaw County, right next to Stone County. From ancient times, there were mound builders in Hancock County, Mississippi. The ancestral Choctaw who came to the area had several large village sites. There was no party tradition in the earliest sites, but they lined cooking pits with clay and built fires on them, hardening the lining into what looks like thick pottery at first glance. Okay, talking about the cooking balls, and we're gonna stop right there for now. All right, so Nick, on to this page, on to this article. We have the final report, another final report on the cultural resources inventory of the Pearl River Basin, Louisiana, Mississippi. The one I showed you earlier was based off the Mississippi River. All right, this is more geared towards the Pearl River Basin, right? Prepare for, again, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Mobile, Alabama. Okay. See, the other one was the New Orleans branch in New Orleans, and this one's going to be in Mobile. And this author is by Bill Moore. He pretty much submitted to them. They gave some feedback and some corrections on some of the citations and things of that nature. Real resourceful document. So this link will be in the description as well. Excuse me, so that you can continue the research. Departments of anthropology, state and federal agencies, and miscellaneous institutions is contacted. Okay, so dealing with anthropology, In Louisiana, you got LSU, Department of Geography and Anthropology, Tulane University, University of New Orleans, Department of Culture, Recreation, so it's got all that. Okay, and it's got the Mississippi departments that deals with archaeology and who you probably can correspond to. I'm quite sure they probably switch positions, but the address probably is still the same. So the journals consulted: American Anthropologist, American Antiquity, Bulletin of the Texas Archaeological Society, Florida Anthropologist, and so on. And radiocarbon dating. Okay, Historical Societies contacted: Belhaven Board of Architectural Review, Civil War Round Table in Jackson, Mississippi, the Grand Chapter of Mississippi, Order of the Eastern Star. See, what the Eastern Star got to do with this fucking American history? Jackson, Mississippi, what up? Hancock Carter Historical Society in Bay St. Louis, Historical and Genealogical Association of Mississippi, which is in Jackson. Okay, Lawrence County Historical Society. Gotta put that in there. Shout out to Prentice. Man, but hey, county and parishes libraries in the Pearl River Basin contacted by phone. Okay, and these are basically the cities and towns that we'll be getting into, telling the story on the Pearl River Project. So Bassville, Copiah County, Covington, Hancock, Jefferson County, Jefferson Davis County, Lamar County, Lawrence County, Lee County, Lincoln County, Madison County, Marion County, Pearl River County, Pike, Rankin, Simpson, Santamini, Walthall, Washington Parish. Right? Following the title of the review. And even in this document, it would have resourceful bibliography for you to check out some of these sources to further your research, right? You got several trails are shown across the Pearl River: Pearlington, Spring Cottage, Forestville, Columbia, Cottonville, Monticello, Georgetown, Jackson, Mississippi, are depicted. Let's go down. Yeah, it's the Pearl River, man. We got some little country towns. Districts of the company. I don't know, but this link will be in the description, so you can check this out. This is a Bacon, Charles Madison Bacon. History of the Hinds County, Mississippi during Reconstruction. Thesis, Mississippi College. Encyclopedia of American Shipwrecks. Documents the known shipwrecks which occurred in American territorial waters from the pre-Revolutionary era, pre-Revolution era to the present. Information provided includes name of the vessel, rig, type of ship, tons, weight of the ship, year built, date wreck, cause of wreck, place of wreck, and comments on the shipwreck that those is reported for the Pearl River. Alright, this is talking about the Louisiana railroads. I can find some of these people in there. North Pearl River County. This paper presents general information concerning stories and legends of the Pearl River County. Names of early settlers are given. No maps are provided. So that's some genealogy work. Division of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. So, this is just a few. I heard of Gagliano Sherwood, who was an anthropologist, and around the Louisiana, Mississippi area. Let's see. Logic report. Mississippi Department of Archives and History. This report documents the findings of an archaeological survey of Mississippi, which was carried out from 1974-75 by the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. 2 counties in the Pearl River Basin, Copiah and Lincoln, were included in the survey. 3 sites in the corridor. Major workers. Okay. Cool. We're talking about paddle boats and the Black Warrior. Ancient earthwork fortification. Okay, in Hancock County, saved by the collective efforts and Mississippi Archaeological Association newsletter. So, in May of 1970, the ancient earthwork fortification site was slated for destruction to make way for the Mulatto Bayou Port Ann Arbor Industrial Development Site. This article describes how the combined efforts of interested Mississippi State University students and the Mississippi Department of Archives and History saved this important site. Okay, so Ponce Brenda, this ancient earthwork fortification in Hancock County saved. Let's copy that. Let's pull up see if we can get some on that. Newsletter, Mississippi. Getting out of my tap. Uh, 2017. Professional archaeology that lay people actively involved with archaeology and archaeological preservation, uniting in a common effort to understand the prehistory and history of Mississippi and the surrounding region. What role can you play? It's the Mississippi Archaeological Association, officers, chapters, okay, journals, Mississippi Archaeology, the faunal record at Zeke, everyday substance, Ancestors Lake Store Mound, Plaza Center in Natchez Bluffs region. Okay, got some stuff on the back. I seen something like back issues. Let's see, back issues. Okay, they're going back to 1980 in this thing. Let's check out issue number 1. Okay, Mississippi Archaeology. The major objective of this publication is to present the information of a basically technical nature of field work, artifact analysis, and archaeological theory. Submissions must be in finished form and must be typed. Contributions are accepted. Whatever. Let's get to it. Comments from the editor, Delta, David, Student X Fine from Chickasaw County. The Baldwin O'Neill dilemma. The particle of the prairie phase, Lake Marksville in the Upper Sunflower region. So they up north. The new book from 18 and intends to upgrade foreign magic college. Talents of many people understand the Department of Archives and History. We would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for assistance for blah blah. It has been brought to our attention that members of the Mississippi Archaeological believe that it is the responsibility of the staff and the department. Boom. I ain't talking about that right down. Abstract: a classification system for the byproducts of biface manufacturers applied to material from the Mississippi alluvial valley. Its potential in archaeological analysis is discussed. Among North American archaeology, the term debitage is generally used to designate the byproducts of stone tool manufacture. Flakes, bifaces, assemblage scale analysis, conclusions. Alright, it's written scientifically. Yeah. Alright, now what is this? Sketch and spud outline tablet of limonite. Then it look like a casket or something. And they getting it in with some more sources. But that's how you would navigate some. That's how you would expand your research, just based off the bibliography that's noted in these articles, which will be in the description. This is for everybody. This is free info. You know, only thing that costs me is the time. You can show me support just by hitting that like button. You know what I'm saying? And we do have more of the bibliography. Here's one from description of sites on the National Register of Historic Places. Cook County, Hancock County. Again, Hancock is right next to us. I'm in Harrison and Long Beach, and right next to us Hancock down on the Gulf Coast. They do have a site, Jackson Landing site, which is a prehistoric earthworks which are assumed to have their origins in the Chahta period, with continuation of the construction into the middle or late Marksville times. The earliest known date for the Jackson Landing site itself is 400 BC plus 100 plus or minus 100. So it could be 3 or 5 between that. And it is assumed to have been finished around AD 500. This site is probably the largest extent prehistoric earthwork in South Mississippi. That's by Mississippi Department of Archives and History in Hancock County. So let's check out what the Jackson Landing site is all about. Okay, so I put this in, quick search for it, and I read across this article right here. Archaeological investigations at Jackson Landing, an early late woodland, mound, and earthwork site in coastal Mississippi. This is by Edmund A. Boudreaux the third. Ooh, got the third in the building. So this is the Archaeological Report number 36, and it's in the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, Jackson, Mississippi, which is the state capital. Okay, man, table of contents, you can go straight, well, can't go straight to it, but investigations, then tell you about the field work, the artifacts that was found, conclusions, pre-mound mitten, mound construction use, page 86. And they got, list up all the tables and diagrams to help you flow along with the verbiage. Okay. So this is the Jackson Landing site. Let's see if they get The Jackson Landing site is one of the largest and most significant archaeological sites on Mississippi's Gulf Coast. The site comprises a 60-acre area that includes a 1.5 meter tall platform mound, a large shell mitten, and a semicircular earthen wall that is 460 meters long and 3 to 4.5 meters tall, figure 1-1. Archaeological and historical research indicates that Jackson Landing has been utilized for the last 4,000 years. The site's culture history includes minor occupations during the late Archaic, which is 3000 to 1200 BC. Late Woodland AD, 700 to 1200 in the Mississippi, 1205, 1550 periods going on in Jones, 1996, and a substantial 18th century historic Indian component. Okay, perhaps the most significant episode in Jackson Landing's long sequence of human occupation occurred during the late Woodland period, when the site was a regional center marked by monumental construction of the site, earthworks, and platform ground. This monograph reports on investigation at the site, 2010. Jackson Land was obviously the choice for the archaeological field. During all the periods of the Gulf Coast prehistory and history over the past 4,000 years, with notable people such as the 19th century naturalists. Well, like I say, this is gonna be in the description, so y'all can further your investigation on the people of the Americas before Columbus. So this is getting real scientific. It's to go out there and dig. Just the boots on the ground. It'd be crazy if we can somehow schedule a excavation. You know, for starters, not just like our own, but probably in the area where excavations already started, and we can kind of like, jump along and learn some things. That'd be real cool. That might be my 2021 initiative with the boots on the ground, doing excavations here on the Gulf Coast, or in Mississippi, anywhere near the Pearl River. So we didn't go through all that. This link will be in the description. We got, we're talking about Lower Mississippi Survey, the Tunica Treasure by Jeffrey P. Brain. Okay. It's a preliminary statement. Abstract is the extraordinary cache of European and Aboriginal artifacts deposited as grave offerings by the Tunica Indians of the southwestern Mississippi. Offerings of Tunica Indians of Mississippi have recently come to light. The great quantity and variety of the artifacts will provide invaluable data on the pattern of French contact in the lower Mississippi Valley during the first half of the 18th century. Furthermore, the European artifacts will set a firm historic dateline for the Aboriginal artifacts, which in turn can be utilized in a direct historic approach to answer some key questions relating to the late prehistory of the valley. Okay, homeland. The left bank of the Mississippi River from Vicksburg south to the Louisiana border is an area of considerable importance to the study of the proto-historic and historic periods of Aboriginal occupation along the most important waterway. The homeland of the Natchez was there, and some of their contemporaries, both Fran, Yazoo, Cora, and Atil, and Fort Tunica. The interaction between these tribal groups are relatively well documented in the early French accounts of the contact period. The Tunica are tribal groups almost well known as the Natchez. When first contacted by the earlier French explorers, they were located on the Yazoo River in the vicinity of Vicksburg. Boom, boom, boom. Yep. Let's see. Explanation of the wealth trade goods. Alright, they're talking about the trades found in between French historical records of the period. For example, in December 1721, Father Charles Vaux, historian of New France, visited the Tunica in their new location And among the notes made the following pertinent observations. The cabin of the chief is very much adorned on the outside for the cabin of a savage. The inside is dark, and I observed nothing in it but some boxes, which they assured me were full of clothes and money. The chief, Kahua Diligo, ally of the French against the Natchez and the predecessor of Rod Babu, received us very politely. He was dressed in the French fashion and seemed to be not all uneasy in that habit. All of the other all the savages of Canada, of all the savages in Canada, there is none so much dependent on our commandments as this chief. He loves our nation, and he has no cause to repent of the services he has rendered. He trades with the French, whom he supplies with horses and fowls, and he understands his trade very well. He has learned of us to hoard up money, and he is reckoned very rich. Okay. This particular passage has been given rise to the local legend of the Tunical treasure, and that we believe is what has been found. We believe is what has been found. Although nobody has come to our attention if indeed there was any significant amount, which is doubtful, and what was basically a colonial bartering colony. There is a tremendous wealth of European artifacts and true treasure to the Aboriginal. So this is European ceramics. This is what they found. Okay. European bottles, wine and gin, Aboriginal pottery, the Cadoan, Natchez, Tunica. Right. So this link gonna be in the description, man. Y'all gonna get all this. And here's some more bibliography, some sources for you. This is from the state of Louisiana Department of Conservation, James M. Menifee. Bibliography relative to the Indians of the state of Louisiana. So we gotta dig. You gotta dig. And it's all like the great travelers through that part of North America formerly called Louisiana, right? Translated from the French by John Reinhold Forster, 2 volumes printed for T. James, London. Each volume contains basic data pertaining to the material culture of Louisiana Indians. You know, let's copy and paste that in. Let me go see if anything pop up. Travels through that part of North America. It's for the Library of Congress. Got something on it. I don't know if they want to have something on it. What's up? Alright, you got my internet going. Yeah, we're connected. Like the Wi-Fi. But ain't showing no. Oh, here we go. Travels through the part of North America formerly called Louisiana. Alright, so this is how you do the research, man. It's just like if you was in a library. You looking for certain subjects, type it in, different catalogs coming up, and they tell you where to go. Alright, so Google is somewhat a database full of these books that's been converted to PDFs. So it's not like we YouTube scholars or anything like that. We take the basic information that we learned in high school and how to maneuver through all these different sources. Now the thing is, whenever it goes to putting all these sources together, making sure you correctly notate or cite, you know what I'm saying, where you getting your information from, which I have no problem sharing. So we got technical difficulties. Okay. But this is, it may be a broken methodology, but I get to the books just like I would if I was enrolled. Okay, so let's see if we download the PDF, see if they'll let us do that. Let's swing it all up, and I'm gonna drop that link into the description as well. Y'all gonna have y'all about 10 sources, y'all. This, just gotta get a like. Am I doing it for likes? A little bit. Hope that's the reward for somebody to like and follow exactly what I'm doing and telling them that there's more to the story that we know or that was taught in grade school. So Travels Through Louisiana. So I never looked at this book. Translated from the French, so they got, let's see, the zeal with which you promote the great cause of learning, and specifically that the natural history, the polite arts and antiquities entitle you to the regard of homage of everyone who is conversant with arts and sciences, but the favor you were this broken English stuff. Different parts of your encouragements take retirement. Yeah, I ain't talking about that. Let's see the preface. Ain't gonna be no preface. Louisiana letter 1. We're going by letters. So these are letters from I guess the Spanish people or the French people that came through, and it's been translated to English. So this is one of the letters. Spaniards, natives of the Domingo of St. Domingo, working in the mines, true origin of the mouth de Naples. When I had the honor of taking my love to you, I was ordered to communicate to you very particularly that should appear remarkable to me in the new world. Your father defied of me an account of all interesting subjects which might happen on the pillage. I'm glad that the stay at Cape Francois affords me the opportunity to fill it in. Alright. Let's see. Anchor to the place, voyage, violent. Bound the crew, left the private sailors. Woo, woo. The wind increased. We sat there for 8 days, rushing and claimed. Boom, boom, boom. Embarked on a ship called Puncher Train. Okay, here we go. I should have equipped myself for my voyage. I was to go to Rochelle and embark in the ship called the Puncher Train of 400 tons. 400 tons. Emily Norman had freighted the ship for the king's account in order to transport 4 companies of the Marines whom we took into the citadel of the Isle of there to find to reinforce the garrison of New Orleans. Man, I ain't no lie. Let's see. Might have a little problem trying to convert. Okay, the town lies the bottom of the promontory. It is defended by a fort cut in the rock at the entrance of the port. This fortress, which has a good floor of artillery, projects into the sea and by the means forms a cape from whence the town takes its name. Its inhabitants are European merchants, Creoles, and Negroes, the last being employed to cultivate sugar canes, coffee, indigo, cocoa, cotton, coffee, tobacco, and various other products. The French and the Spaniards have divided the island between them. Okay? So they distinguishing Negroes from the Creole and the merchants, European merchants. This might, yeah, you had to probably dig, you know what I'm saying? But, but that's what those sources are for, and there's bits and pieces, I'm quite sure. All the authors that's in the previous documents, what they're telling leads to these type of books or primary sources. Some may be secondary, but whether they second or first, you take the crumbs and learn how to apply it. So you back it up out of that. I see they mention forts and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Here's another. We got sources on top of sources. The Mississippi problem of conflict and economic emphasis, Annals, Association of American Geography. So, Andrea de Pez and Spanish reaction to French expansion into the Gulf of Mexico, LaSalle and his legacy urged Prince Sullivan of the Lower Mississippi Valley, like history of Missouri, seeing something about some mounds, and Handbook of the Aboriginal American Antiquities. Let's check that out. I'm just randomly running across, and we feel to see. Yeah, where got that book? Handbook of Original American Antiquities. It's probably something you had to sign up for. Maybe not anything you can get for free. Let's go if you can open this a PDF. And my goodness, let's save. Probably had to go. The place of archaeology and human history anthropology, which is defined as the science of man, may be regarded as presenting two distinct phases: the historical phase, which deals with the present and past, and the practical phase, which relates to the present and future. The former comprises of all the research designed to acquire a knowledge of the present and past in man, and that the latter of all those researches which have the present and future welfare of man in view. The term history, as applied to the human race, is a comprehensive designation corresponding to the historical phase of anthropology. According to Powell's classification, anthropology may be considered under 7 heads of departments, giving rise to many branches of research. Somatology, the science of the human body; psychology, the science of the human mind; philology, because that's the science of activities designed for expression; sociology, the science of institutions; Sophiology, the science of activities designed to give instruction; technology, the science of the arts and the industries; eschatology, the science of activities designed to give pleasure. And working out these problems. Alright, let's see if we can get some intellectual jargon going on. So, present period, Columbian discovery, Norse discovery, beginning. Yeah, I hope that is the Earth. They're trying to go down to the core. History of particular people or ethnic group would end up in a historic phase law. Begin with the first written record of the people. Thus, the prehistoric status of the Peruvians would end, and the historic begin with the arrival of Pizarro, of the New Mexicans with the arrival of Fray Mont de Naza, and the Virginians with the landing of Roanoke Colony. The prehistoric unwritten period of the valley of the River of Doubt would end, and the historic would begin when Roosevelt made his What Challenge report, the previous history in the valley. Design on record, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to get Aboriginal. So I'm guessing with the Aboriginal, you gotta come from like Mexico, South America. You gotta Asiatic, great antiquity, not approved. Scope of research, unity of race. The hypothesis of unity, the biotic solidarity of the human race now meets with a variety, but there is still uncertainty in the minds of anthropologists regarding the time and place of the origin of partners of the racial ways, and seeking to trace the American race backwards into history by whatsoever means. The archaeologist encounters immediately the inquiry as to whether the beginnings are to be sought in the old or in the new world. The theory of the new world origin, which would make the old world racist offshoots of an American stock, is held by other few and sustained by meager evidence. Today, the consensus of opinion among students of the subject favors the view that the old world gave birth to the humankind. The old world gave birth to the humankind, and it follows that the earliest traces of his existence must be sought there, and that our researchers must trend backwards in that direction. They're just powerful, man. It is indeed incredible that the American race, represented at a period of its greatest expansion by hardly more than 50 or 20 million people, and those of a homogeneous physical type and imperfect developed culture, not only should have people the old world, but should have people it with three races: the white, the yellow, and the black. Highly differentiated in physical type and in the cultural treatment, the comprising the bulk of the world's population. Traces of human occupancy are found in the old world associated with geological formations, which are confidently assigned to the beginning of the Quaternary period, hundreds and thousands of years ago. Let me see. Excuse me. A terracotta head with oblique eyes. Veracruz, Mexico. Okay. Yeah, we don't live on glow. Okay. Alright, so I'm thinking, if you want to dive into that, dive into this, the upper Mississippi and Great Lakes area. Go from Mexico, South America. Alright, let's get up out of here. We're gonna keep it pushing, man. And again, I got two big references. They're gonna be down below in the description. Okay. This right here, I really pull it up for the picture, showing these dark skinned Indians. From time to time, and during historical research, the Choctaw Nation Historic Preservation Department come across Choctaw animal stories. Below is the story's exact words translated from the Choctaw language. Henry Halbert. Toward the right is pictured with some of the Choctaw people he worked with. Halbert was a school teacher who was involved in the educational work among the Choctaws in Mississippi from 1884 to 1888. A Choctaw person in Mississippi shared the story about the possum and the wolf with Halbert, who wrote it down. The Alabama State Archives allowed the Choctaw Nation Historic Preservation Department to scan Halbert's unpublished manuscripts and notes about the Choctaw people. A long time ago, as the panther was traveling through the woods, we're not gonna read all that. Nah, you wanna hear that story? I had this link down. I just got it for the picture, really. But you know, they got some stuff on here. Where we at? ChoctawSchool.com. Chahta, Anumpa, Shaka. Alright, so moving forward, we got some more. These are the Europeans right here. Alright, and here go your colored people. Okay, look like that could be one of my aunties whenever she was young. Alright. So little has been written about the Choctaws of Hancock County, and I'm prompted to gather information to reconstruct what we know. Okay. Stuck in my awareness a great deal, but very little about the historic child science world knows of the Claiborne and Cedar Land sites. We have had recent investigations of the mound near the base St. Louis Bluff at Midden. Has been studied nearby. A large oak grove sat atop a cache of artifacts near Bayou Caddy, but is now destroyed. But these are all the prehistoric peoples. Okay, we get into the treaty. How very little we know about those who lived for a while side by side with the first settlers of the Bay and Waveland, Burlington, and Gainesville. All that's near the coast of Mississippi. Alright. So let's keep moving. What we got? This is about the Jackson Landing site. We already went through that. This telling you about the period of the late Archaic period. Lasted about 5,000 to 3,000 years ago. This is 19th century artist sketch of a Seminole dwelling. The Cheeky was clearly adapted to tropical living. This is a photo from the Smithsonian Institution. Okay. The Treaty of Paris ended the revolution of the world, recognized the independence of the United States, and returned to Florida after 20 years of British rule and to Spain. The international boundary of Florida northern frontier thus separated Indians who were blood relatives. North of the line, the Creek Confederacy grew by 1789 to about 100 towns with an army of 6,000 warriors. South of the line, the Florida Indians controlled most of the peninsula, with isolated Spanish posts maintained at St. Martin and St. Augustine. The Florida towns were self-sufficient communities laid out according to the earlier Creek Plan, with houses grouped around a square and community building. One typical village, Coscoilla, contained about 30 dwellings of a type peculiar to the southeastern area. Each home consisted of two structures: a two-story building for storage containing quarters for the head of the family, and a one-story facility for cooking and sleeping. Cooking and sleeping. Family gardens were located nearby, and a common plantation was worked by all tribal members. Each family contributed to the public food supply, which served visitors and indigent tribal members. Alright. So again, that's what probably should have had that along with the when I was talking about the houses. This is talking about the Aiikhvna. Aiikhvna people had been living on the Pearl River in the 1500s, 20 miles east of the Days Fur and Blue State Park. The original numbers was estimated at about 3,000 people divided into 7 small villages. By 1699, the tribe had decreased by half through warfare and disease, and it has been passed among various tribes after contact with the Spanish explorers in the 1520s. Let's see. British Chickasaw raids began during the early 1690s and eventually carried thousands of native people to the slave docks at Charleston, South Carolina. Eventually carried thousands of native people to the slave docks at Charleston, South Carolina. They were shipped to the British islands of St. Kitts, Barbados, and Jamaica to be sold as enslaved plantation workers. Slave traders had come to understand that putting native people in bondage on their own territory was unwise. Okay? If they were able to break free, they knew where to find help from others and also understood how to survive on familiar land and waters. By shipping them to islands where they did not know the language, the people, or the land, keeping them enslaved was easier. Okay? Kind of just like contradict what I just said, but yeah, that to escape further attacks, the Aiikhvna, moved here in 1702 and can't stop being just my little farming supplemented by hunting, fishing, surprising here, BASIN. The Aiikhvna was an indigenous tribe, particularly in hunting methods and tattooing. When hunting, they were tanned deer skin. With the antlers attached to get close to their prey. When a buck would spot what is considered a competitor, it would charge. The surrounding hunters would then have the easiest shot out of all the tribes. However, the Aiikhvna people could be identified easily because they were covered head to toe in tattoos. Once a pattern was cut into the skin, ashes of willow bark would be placed in the pattern, as well as acting as an ink. The ash was possibly selected because of the natural aspirin found in willow. The Choctaws, the Natchitoches, Natchez people, man. That's the probably May 1706. Yeah. From May of 1706 until February 1700, Andre Pinnacle and 11 of his men were sent by Beanville to live in the Aiikhvna and the Natchitoches because of the shortage of supplies. The following is the translation of the Pinnacle's account by McWilliams in his 1980 book, Fleur-de-Lis and Colomade. It described the living conditions of the village. A week later, we reached the Aiikhvna and the Natchitoches, the Natchitoches. That day, we brought a great deal of game in our boats, having killed it the same day near the spot where we had spent the night, as we heard no more than 2 leagues to travel between the last stop of the Aiikhvna. We had hunted from morning to 4 in the afternoon with the intention of carrying game to our host as a arriving present. And so in our boats there were 6 deer, 8 turkeys, and a minute busters killed the same day. When we got to the village with all this, they embraced us, the men as well as the women and girls, all being delighted to come to stay with them. Then they started cooking the meats that we had brought. And after supper, the entire village began to dance far into night. We had in our group a companion named Picard, who had brought a violin with him. he could play it well enough to have these savages do some figure dancing and step. They had us nearly dying of laughter for the musical instrument. Had the whole village drawn up around Picard. It was almost comical in the sight world to see them open their eyes in amazement and every now and then cut the most comical capers ever seen. But it was quite another matter when they saw us dance in Munay. Two boys dancing together. Okay, they would gladly have spent the whole night watching us and listening to the violin, had not the chief of the Colopisses, fearing we were tired out, come tell us that the lodging were assigned to us. All of them wanted to have us in their home. The chief of the Colopisses reserved the violin period to lodge with him. The most important men gave lodging to the others. For my part, I was lodged with the chief of the Nasatoches. On my arrival, he had invited me to stay with him. I was in person active for MD Dennis. Had conducted his chief among the Colopisses and before the year to live with him. I knew him as one of the most honorable men among the savages of his region. Since that time, he had been in debt to me for saving his life, as I shall show later on. I was not sorry that I was lodged with him, for in his house I received every possible favor. He had 2 daughters that were the most beautiful of all the savage girls in the district. The older one was 20. She was called Okolagini. Ochaganami. She was called Ochaganami, which in their language means good daughter. The second was only 18 but was taller than her older sister. She was named Uwachil. I'm probably bashing these words, which means the pretty spinner. Alright, I don't see this going anywhere too, so I'm gonna cut it right there and put that in the link in the description. So yeah, there's plenty. Alright, so that's the native people foot in blue. Okay, a list of the First Nations. We got this at what's that, Tulat GA, probably something from Georgia. Talk about the Abenaki, Akolapissa, Algonquin, Bayagula, Beothuk, Catawba, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Chittamauga, Comanche, Kamash, Delaware, Erie, Homer, Huron, Illinois, Iroquois, Kickapoo, Mohican, Muskotan, Massachusetts, Mattabessie, Menominee, Miami, Mac, Oregon, Montagnus, Narragansett, Nauset, Neutrals, Niantic, Napissin, Nepomuk, Ojibwe, Ottawa, Pinnacle, Pequot, Puckamtop, Potawatomi, Silken Fox, Shawnee, Sequinhadock, Susquehannock, Tionontati, Salagi, Winnipunk, Winnebago. Didn't know Winnebago was a Aboriginal name or First Nation history. But I will list this in the description as well. And yeah, that's it, man. I just wanted to throw a few sources at you keep you busy over through the holidays, and we got the New Year's approaching. If you don't hear my voice before we go, again, Happy New Year's to you. Hope y'all got your goals set out, get your checklist, written down, and we're gonna knock them out one by one. If you need help, you can email me at brotherlawrence228@gmail.com. And that's pretty much it, man. I hope y'all enjoyed the information. Anything y'all want to talk about, put it in the comment. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you'll get it whenever I drop it. All right. So this is Brother Lawrence checking up out this thing, man. Peace. Oh my